Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Gym Mama podcast, where we talk about all things pregnancy, postpartum, motherhood, tips and tricks, and more from a Senegalese American perspective. It's been a while since I've been here, and that's because the last month or so has been so busy. I won't bore you guys with the details. If you've been following me on social media, you kind of have a little glimpse of what I've been up to. But that's why it's been a while since I've made a video. It's been a lot going on, and I just haven't found the time, to be quite honest. But I'm back, so today we're going to talk about a lot of different topics that are kind of mushed into the overall topic of like therapy and parenting. So bear with me as I develop my ideas. I'm going to be free flow talking. I have a high level script, but I really wanted to just come on here and talk to everybody about like parenting and the importance of working through your issues and kind of dissecting what baggage you bring into parenthood. The same way you bring baggage into a marriage or a relationship. That's the same way you bring baggage into parenthood, in my opinion. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'll give anecdotes. I'll talk about my journey. And then, we'll just go from there. Hopefully it's a good discussion. I'm trying something new out here when it comes to the recording. As you know, if you have been keeping up, as you know, my daughter is over here trying to mess my setup. As you know, if you've been following my podcasting journey, I started off with the audio podcast and now I'm doing audio and video. I'm trying StreamYard when it comes to the solo episodes. I have tried them in the past for the guest episodes, but I'm going to try them for the solo episodes as well, because I think it'll just make life a lot easier when it comes to editing and post-production, all of those things. So let's get into today's episode. I'm just going to pull up my notes here. And the first thing that I'm going to talk about is the spirit of work in progress, or as I like to call it, that like not being so hell-bent on perfection to the point where it hinders progress or it hinders just results in general. I have recorded full episodes, and then in the post-production part of it where I'm editing and piecing things together, something went wrong, or, I didn't really like how it sounded, but the gist of it was there, and I discarded the whole episode because it wasn't perfect or it didn't sound the way that I wanted it to sound. So I'm trying to break free from that. And also, it's hard to find time, like perfect time to edit and to record when you have a whole distraction all the time. Like, I used to let that kind of hinder me and stop me full stop from being able to sit down and record an episode. I would actually get anxiety when I think about having to record an episode and be like, well, who's going to watch Fatima while I do that? Who's going to do this? Is she going to behave? Is she going to do this? Is she going to do that? I want to break free from all of that and just bring you guys like raw motherhood. What you get is what you're going to get. What you hear is what you're going to hear. Like, I don't want to limit myself to having the perfect studio environment, the perfect video quality, the perfect audio quality, when I can just work with what I have to get the content out there. So I hope you guys will bear with me through that journey. And I'm going to bear with myself through the journey as well. It's always a learning curve. It's always a learning process for me. So I just wanted to get that out of the way in case you hear Fatim, participating in the episode or me making mistakes as I kind of go through the whole process. Like right now, she literally wants to be part of the episode, and I wish I could let you guys see her because it would make life a lot easier if I could just hold her and record, but for privacy reasons I won't do that. So let's get into the episode, and I'm going to stop rambling about the logistics of it all. Okay, so today I want to talk about on social media, I see a lot of videos, I see a lot of posts about breaking generational curses all the time, but we never really talk about how. And like I mentioned earlier in the video, or in the episode, the trauma that we carry from our childhood, it shows up in our adult relationships, but it also shows up in our relationships with our kids as well. That's something that as a mother, as a new mom, and I don't know, has my new mom card expired? My daughter's about to be 1, but either way, I still think I'm a new mom because I'm learning every day. I think you never stop learning as a parent, but especially that first year or two, whatever, like there's just a lot to learn. That baggage that you bring with you, it will manifest itself in your relationship with your child. When they're quiet and they're not talking to you or they're not really interacting with you, that's a little bit different. But when they start talking, when they start moving, when they start doing things that will kind of grind your gears or will really make you have to interact with them on multiple levels and multiple dimensions, that's when you start to realize, oh, wow, these things that I said I would never do are starting to show up, or these things that I, experienced growing up are starting to manifest itself in my relationship with my child now. So that's what we're going to be talking about it. And so in order to fix something, we have to know what that thing is as well as its root cause. And so getting into like, how do you break generational curses? How do you identify the toxicity or the do's and don'ts that you want to carry over into your relationship as a parent and as an adult? And my answer to that always will be a combination of prayer, introspection, and what did I say? Prayer, introspection, and therapy. Yes. Obviously, you want to make sure that you have spiritual alignment, whether you are a religious person or not. You have to have some moral compass that you're going to be holding yourself to when it comes to the standards that you want to use to raise your children. That's first and foremost. Introspection is important because you always want to be asking yourself, how am I doing? You want to check in with yourself. You want to check in with your partner. You want to check in with your kids when they get to that age that you can talk to them and say, hey, how do you think I'm doing? And that sounds weird to say, like, as a parent, especially in our Senegalese culture, to ask your kid, like, how am I doing as a parent? But I think it's important as your kids start to grow up that you build that relationship of communication and having frequent conversations around how you're doing, how they're perceiving you as a parent, and then that you have a spirit of continuous improvement versus thinking that you know everything and that everything you're doing is perfect. And then the last bit is therapy. This piece is probably for me the most tangible that I can give a lot of tips and tricks on, because I've been through therapy many, many times before I had kids, and now, being a parent, it's something that I prioritize. Not from like a Western standpoint of like, oh, therapy is cool, and it is, therapy is cool. But for me, it's more so I have to talk things out. I have to have a third party who maybe doesn't have skin in the game, give me feedback on certain things that I'm doing. And so even if everything is going well, sometimes I do utilize therapy to just talk things out and make sure that I have my head on straight, that I'm not having blind spots, that I'm not keeping, in mind when I'm interacting with other people. And as a parent, that's especially important because you tend to have this mentality of everything I'm doing is for the benefit of my child, and I know best. I know we always say that, like, mama knows best or your parents know what's best for you, but that's not always the case. We want what's best. We do our best. We try, but we don't know everything. And so I think just having that humility and the wherewithal and the humbleness and the maturity to recognize and acknowledge that we don't know everything. We're not perfect, and that parenthood is a journey as much for us as it is for our kids. Then I think that, you're on the right path of acknowledging the importance of doing work continuously to be a better person, to be a better partner, to be a better parent. So that was a lot. And I'm going to dive into kind of the meat of the episode. When it comes to parenting, having to unlearn some of the things that make us, having to learn and unlearn things that will make successful parents. And so when it comes to Senegalese parenting, some things that I try to unlearn are the parents are always right. I don't believe that. Kids don't know anything. I don't believe that. Parents don't apologize. It's not good for your kids. I don't believe that. Your parents must always have a say in the decisions you make as an adult. Moreover, they should sign off on them and give you their blessing. I don't particularly believe that in every single scenario. And so, of course, there's nuance to all of these things that we're talking about. We'll get into it. But these are just some things that I've had to write down and say, okay, these are some things that I want to challenge myself on as a parent and as my, child and children are growing up, to make sure that I'm calling myself out on my own BS. Whew, that was a lot, right? I want to just start off by saying, like, when your children are young, you guide them, you educate them, you discipline them, and you nurture them heavily. Like, their lives depend on you, right? You're feeding them, you're bathing them, you're clothing them, you're taking them to doctor's appointments. When they're sick, you're taking care of them. So, of course, it's natural for you as a parent to feel like, oh my goodness, this is not only someone that I love, but I have a responsibility, a duty to take care of this person. Now, as they start to get older, that's when it's imperative to learn to let go a little bit. And it's a process that you have to learn. It's not easy. I haven't gone through it yet, so I'm speaking from a point of privilege. I acknowledge that. But I imagine that as your kids start to get older, actually, I'm going to retract on that. I haven't been through it as a parent, but I've been through it as a child. I've been on the receiving end of, being an adult and trying to, forge your own path and make your own decisions, and sometimes feeling like you don't have the autonomy to do that. Because from a cultural standpoint, you're always, what's the word that I'm looking for? You always have to report back to someone, and that's usually your parents, right? So I haven't been on the perpetrator side of it, but I've been on the receiving side of it. I've been a victim of these things where you're an adult, you want to make decisions, but you don't have the full autonomy to do so. And so I'll retract my statement on that. But really what I want to talk about is learning to let go a little bit is something that obviously cannot be easy for any parent to do. It's not easy for the person that you love and you cherish so much to let them out into the world and to trust that the education you've given them, the care that you've given them is enough for them to sustain on their own. But it is. And it's something that you have to accept, acknowledge, and embrace if you want to, as a parent, as your kids start to get older, live a more peaceful life versus trying to control everything that they do, because they're not going to stay babies forever. I know, they say your kids will always be your babies. I hope to experience that. I hope to be that loving mama bear forever and ever, but I also hope to have balance in my approach so that I can respect my kids as adults when they get to that stage. And also it'll free up, mental space for me to enjoy my life as an individual as well. I think we tend to think of the parent-child relationship as so symbiotic, so intertwined and so low-key interdependent, that we can't decouple it. And we don't realize that this is how I view it. You're stuck together when they're kids and you do everything together so much. And then as you start to get older, there is that bit of a divide. There is that bit of like a fork in the road where they start to forge their own path and you have to get back to living your life as well, because you also are your own person. You have your own desires and wishes and goals and dreams, all of those things. So that's definitely something we have to understand and acknowledge, and we have to check our own tendencies. Sometimes we do things without realizing that we're doing that. I was getting my hair done recently, and the stylist was saying that she has a 15-year-old and a 14-year-old, and she's like, I am freaking out because they're talking about like starting to learn how to drive. And she's like, I can take you. And she has to check herself and be like, wow, they're growing up. Like, this is a normal phase of life that they're going through. And I can't continue to be mama bear and helicopter parent them all the time. It's just not going to work. So prayer, introspection, and therapy, those three things will help you, I think, start to, at a minimum, acknowledge the tendencies that you may have as a parent and how you can start to break some of those cycles so that you can have a more peaceful and harmonious relationship with your kids as they grow into adulthood. Now I'm looking at my notes here, and so I was kind of rambling a little bit, but I was like, we owe it to our kids to dig deep and find out what's troubling us, what our blind spots are, that could be causing us to cause them pain, and then address them. So we can't be good parents if we're not good to ourselves and to our kids. Like, that's just a thing, right? So there's a lot of things that we don't know are hurtful, not only to others, but to ourselves. We often have to dig deep and find out where that trauma is, find out where those disconnects are when it comes to our relationship with our parents, so that we don't repeat those same mistakes with our own children. So I'm kind of going on a soapbox here about just like thinking hard, digging deep, and doing the work that's necessary to become a really good parent and to stay a good parent, because it's a continuous journey. It's not something that you reach a destination and that's the end of it. It's a continuous journey as your kids get older and older and older. So like I mentioned, speaking from experience, I have been to therapy multiple times in the past. I kind of treat it like a medical check-in. And I will say that I have the privilege of being able to do that through my employer. A lot of the times it's been through my medical plans at work that I have like a wellness aspect of it where I can get therapy sessions at a discounted rate. So that is a luxury. Therapy is not cheap. Y'all. So I get it. It's not always possible to just go and get a therapist and work through these things. And that's why I wanted to bring in the aspect of prayer and introspection, because there are other ways to do the work. It's not just by going to a therapist's office, sitting down and talking about your issues. There are other ways to get it done as well. But it is a very, very effective way if you're honest with yourself, if you're willing to do the work, and if you are open to that feedback that you're going to be receiving, because you may hear some things that you don't like. Hey, stop it. Lang may tonto. Okay. Getting back into the how. So, like I mentioned, it's not what why you keep. Ka. Mama, amun mama. Pero gamay niya ka. Foka, you mo lagyan niya. Foka, you mo lagyan niya. Ano mo lagyan niya? What you do that? Okay. Good job. So getting back a little bit into the how of how you should do the work. I mentioned therapy, introspection, and prayer, but a couple of more tangible things that I wanted to kind of deep dive into. The first one is going to therapy and being honest. So the therapist is not there to judge you and tell you that you're doing everything wrong. They're there to listen to you, connect a few dots for you as well, or help you connect the dots, and really help you see things from a third party perspective that you may not be able to do on your own, especially when you're in the thick of it, like parenting. Sometimes like you don't even realize you're doing certain things. So having that check-in with someone where you can just talk about things, but also just recognizing that you have to be honest in that process. If you're not honest in therapy, it doesn't work. It doesn't matter what you're going to therapy for. If you're not honest with yourself, it's not going to work. So there may be shameful times, there may be shameful moments where you have to acknowledge like, wow, I really could have done things differently, or I'm turning into what I never wanted to become. But it's good to recognize those things so you can take a step back and undo some of the damage before it's too late. The next thing is to hold yourself accountable. So if you're going to do the work, it ties into the being honest piece here. If you're going to go to therapy and do the work, if you're going to do introspection and think about the things that you're doing, if you're going to pray on things, you have to hold yourself accountable. So give yourself some measures. That's why I wrote down like the things that I'm like, okay, these are things I want to dispel within my own home. These are things that I don't want to carry into the next generation in my own home. Find other ways if that's not, a good method for you to use, but find a way to hold yourself accountable, document your journey and track progress. So that way you can hold yourself accountable and say, okay, I wanted to accomplish this by this age or by this time, and I was able to make this amount of progress. It's really important to track the progress that it's really important to track the progress that you're making so that you can be proud of the success that you've achieved, but also recognize the gaps that are still remaining and how you can address them. I think a key point here is as your kids are getting older and you are able to have those conversations with them, they can also help hold you accountable. If you're a screamer, that's something, a moment of transparency. I am starting to realize like my lack of patience as an individual is starting to show up in how I'm parenting, where it's like those outbursts of like, hey, like, I think you probably might have heard it during the episode. It's like, hey, and now sometimes it's less dramatic. It's like you just want to get the child's attention. But if I don't check that, if I don't work on that patience piece, if I don't continue to address that, it's going to turn into me as a parent of a teenager, and I won't have patience to have conversations. I won't have patience to understand when my child makes a mistake. I'm just going to go from 0 to 100, start yelling, start screaming, and that is not something that I want to do. So I have recognized that, even though my baby's only 11 months, I have recognized that I have that tendency, and I want to completely get rid of it. And so I'm working on that. So find those things that you do. It may be something small, it may be something big, but find it, address it, and work on it. Like, oh my goodness, I cannot say that enough. I found myself being like, hey, or like getting in those moments of frustration where you literally are like, you have to take a breath. I got to check myself on that. And I'm continuing to check myself on that. So hold yourself accountable, document your journey, and just keep working at it. And it ties into this next one that I'm going to talk about, which is to implement practices in your home to make it easier. So have family meetings. They don't have to be formal. It can be over dinner where you kind of just check in with one another, or like a game night where you kind of just decompress and kind of segue into some conversations around how things are going, how your kids are perceiving you as parents. A question. Let's see, what did I have here? Ask questions often and listen for understanding. Repeat back what you heard. This is that whole act of active listening, and trying to be more effective. There's a video that I watched from Steph Anye. I'll link it in the episode description, or somewhere around here if you're watching the video. But it talks about effective communication and how active listening is a very imperative part of active listening. No, active listening is a very imperative part of effective communication. So when you're talking with your kids, especially, it's important to make sure, especially because for some of us, we are a generation away from our kids, or maybe 2 generations away, depending on when you had your kids. Or maybe for an older parent who had a surprise baby at 40, like, I don't know, like, just depending on the dynamic of your household, it may be that you have a child that is a completely different generation from you. They see things differently. They experience the world differently than you do. So active listening can be a very effective way to make sure that you're understanding what they're saying to you and what they're not saying as well by their body language, and that you are also communicating with them so they understand where you're coming from. So obviously we talk about communication being so important all the time. It's important in every relationship, especially a parent-child relationship. And the last point that I wanted to touch on here was to forgive yourself. Give yourself grace. It's not easy to do the work to let go of the past. It's not easy to embrace the imperfections, but as a parent, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. It's okay to make those mistakes as long as you're willing to focus on how to become a better person day by day. Like, that's just the point that I wanted to end on there before I do the closing for the episode in general. I talked a little bit about therapy not being free or cheap. I wanted to circle back on that a little bit because it is a privilege. It is a luxury to be able to pay for therapy. But another thing that I do to supplement the therapy sessions that I have is YouTube. I watch a lot of therapists on YouTube. Steph Anya is one of them. She's a marriage and family therapist. I watch a lot of other videos around how to work through trauma, how to do reflection on your own, how to have hard conversations, how to check yourself when it comes to certain things that you may be engaging in your parent-child relationship that may not be helpful. So if you don't have the ability or the privilege to have a formal therapist, you can still do some of the work by taking the time on your own to watch YouTube videos, to read up on books, to there's many resources out there that you can leverage to do the work that you need to do. So therapy is not the only way, that's for sure. Journaling is a great way to do self-reflection. That way you can start to recognize patterns and tendencies. But, there's just a lot of ways to do the work that you need to do. I'm going to stop rambling because I'm starting to lose my train of thought. But you guys get the point of it. Like, therapy is not the only way. But I'll close off the episode by saying that it's not easy. It's not short. It's not a short putt. It's a long putt. You're going to be in it for the long haul. As long as your child is depending on you, as long as your child has a relationship with you, you're going to have to do the work to make sure that you have a harmonious relationship with them. What does this say here? Oh, I was putting in my notes that I do not want to become an African mom meme. Like, I want my kids to call me and, I'm booed up in Bora Bora because I'm so busy and I'm living my best life. But we had that kind of relationship where they are reaching out to me. They want to talk to me even as adults. So that's my goal. And if I have to encapsulate everything that I'm working on as a parent, the ultimate goal would be to have such a positive relationship with my kids that they want me to be a part of their lives, and I want to be a part of theirs as well. But I also have my own life. So, I think that's it. Yeah. In terms of notes, that's what I had for today's episode. I guess I'll just close it off by saying, like, motherhood, parenthood, fatherhood, none of it is easy. Like, it's super hard. Just me recording this episode, like, my daughter is all over the place. You're going to hear some noises in the final edit. Like, that's just what it is. But I'm, like I was saying in the very beginning, I'm embracing that. I'm trying to make that a part of the whole process. And that's in a way very poetic when it comes to, what are you putting in your mouth? What is that? It tastes good, right? Sorry for the interruption. I had to go and retrieve something from my daughter's mouth, because that's literally 50% of my day is having to go chase her down for something she put in her mouth again that she shouldn't have. But I was ending off the episode by saying that, in a way, the hecticness of motherhood, the hecticness of recording this episode, of doing this podcast and trying to manage everything is very similar to motherhood in general. It's a learning process. It's a steep learning curve that seems to get steeper and steeper as they, gain new abilities. Like, there's just, are you done? As they gain new abilities, like, the predictableness of it just continues to go down. But that's what makes it so much fun. And I'm glad that I was able to sit down and record this episode with all of its imperfections, with all of the mistakes. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you take something away from it. But I would also love to hear from any listener that has gone through therapy or is thinking about therapy when it comes to Senegalese parenthood, or just parenthood in general. Like, what are some things that you're trying to work on? What are some things you want to unlearn and not take into the next generation? What other tips and tricks do you have for others out there who may be interested in doing some of the work, but maybe don't have access to therapy or don't know how to get started? I think I'll end it there, because otherwise I'll start rambling. But I want to thank you all for listening. Thank you all for tuning in. And I will see you in the next video/recording.